In a grand kingdom, there lived an emperor who cared more about fine clothes than about councils, soldiers, or laws. Each day he changed outfits again and again, admiring himself in tall mirrors while his ministers waited with reports he rarely read. The people laughed gently and said, "Our emperor is kind. He simply loves elegance." One afternoon, two strangers arrived at the palace gates. They claimed to be master weavers who could make the most magnificent cloth ever seen. But they added a curious promise. Their fabric had a special power. It would be invisible to anyone who was unfit for their job or foolish beyond measure. The guards whispered this news through the halls, and soon it reached the emperor's ears. A cloth that reveals fools. The emperor thought, "And I would wear something no one else has." He summoned the strangers at once. They bowed low and repeated their claim with perfect confidence. The emperor's eyes shone. He offered them gold, a workshop, and the finest silk and thread in the kingdom, ordering them to begin immediately. The weavers set up 2 looms in a bright room. From morning till night they moved their hands, snipped the air with scissors, and spoke eagerly about colors and patterns, yet there was nothing on the looms at all. Servants who peeked inside saw only empty frames. Their stomachs tightened. "If I admit I see nothing," each one feared, "they will think I'm unfit, or a fool." So they nodded and murmured, "How beautiful," and hurried away. After some days, the emperor grew impatient and sent his most trusted minister to inspect the work. The old man walked in proudly, but when the weavers gestured toward the looms and asked what he thought, he froze. He saw nothing, only bare wood and air. His heart pounded. "Am I unworthy? Have I been foolish all these years?" Terrified, he forced a smile. "It is magnificent," he said. "The colors are astonishing." The weavers smiled wider and described details that did not exist. The minister returned to the emperor and praised the cloth with great enthusiasm. Soon, more officials were sent. Each one saw nothing. Each one lied. The palace began buzzing with excitement about the emperor's new clothes. And even people who had never visited the workshop spoke of them proudly, afraid to be the one person who doubted. At last, the emperor decided to see the cloth himself. He entered the workshop with his court behind him. The weavers bowed and announced the garments were nearly finished. They pointed to the empty looms. The emperor stared, feeling the blood drain from his face. He saw nothing at all. For a moment, he wanted to shout, to demand the truth. But a colder fear seized him. "If I say I see nothing, everyone will believe I am unfit to rule, or that I am a fool." So he lifted his chin and said brightly, "Wonderful, truly wonderful." The courtiers, desperate to appear wise, gasped in admiration. "Splendid!" they cried. "What a glorious pattern." The weavers pretended to cut the fabric, sew it, and dress the emperor. They adjusted invisible sleeves and smoothed an imaginary cape. The emperor turned before the mirror and, seeing only his own bare body, smiled as if he were a masterpiece. A grand parade was announced. On the day of celebration, the emperor walked through the city streets beneath banners and sunlight, wearing his new clothes. The crowd cheered, though many stared in confusion. No one dared speak. If I say he's naked, each person thought, they'll call me stupid. Then a small child, perched on a father's shoulders, blurted out, loud and clear, "But he isn't wearing anything." A hush fell over the street like a curtain. One voice whispered it, then another, until the truth spread through the crowd. "He's naked. The emperor is naked." The emperor felt the words strike him like cold rain. He knew the child was right, yet he had already marched too far into the lie to turn back with dignity. So he stood taller, trying to look proud, and continued the parade as his courtiers walked beside him, pretending to hold up a train that was not there. And from that day on, the kingdom remembered a simple lesson. Pride and fear can make a crowd applaud, an illusion but truth, spoken plainly, can break the spell.